All right, and I'll share my screen here. Okay, and everybody should be able to see the screen, hear my voice. Of course, tomorrow night we'll be doing a Zoom session, a live class session, and we'll try to do a little work there. So today and this week we are to cover chapter 15 and 16 in the Patrick text, the Lunches Database 15 and 16. So again, and I'm going to grab the text and we'll take a look at it real quickly. Chapter 15. And chapter 15 deals with union and union all, and then 16 deals with cross joins, self joins, and cross tab queries. Okay, and so I'm going to cover 15 here, and then I'll probably go ahead and cover 16. I'll have these here just for review for you, and also as a backup in the event that our meeting turns disastrous. I've not used a Zoom live meeting with this number of people have tomorrow night, so we'll see how it goes and what happens. And it will be an experiment for me, and I know a new experience for you. I know probably you've done FaceTime or live chat, but not with a number of people, and so we'll see how this goes. So now we're going to go over and we're going to get the Patrick materials, okay? And just go ahead and do a quick search for that. And there they are, and we want to get chapter 15. And chapter 15 deals with the question of union and union all. Okay. And tomorrow night, and I'm recording this before Thursday, the 30th class meeting. We'll go through some more of this material again just to reinforce it, and that should help. But I'm going to go over here to chapter 15, which is over on page 597, excuse me. And it deals with union and union all, and what do we mean by that concept. And we'll spend some time tomorrow night talking about that, but basically, and the differences between them and why we would use them, okay? Now, of course, we want to work with the Patrick text. And when you want to go over to page 557 because it illustrates for you the difference between a union and a join, which are two different processes, okay? And we'll talk about that tomorrow evening and some more. So we want to go ahead and open up the file and get the Patrick text for chapter 15, those text files. Okay, and you'll see it has the Oracle version, of course, as well as the SQL version, the Access SQL version. And we'll go back up. I'll go back up. And I want to take SQL Fun. And I think I've got it on my desktop here, so let me pop down. And I do. There it is. I have SQL Fun, so I can open it up again. This is the one that I done the upload for you for chapters 10 through 12. So I can still work on the same one. Okay. And I've got the queries that I've done. So I'm going to open up the all objects, and then we'll start to talk about them. Now, again, on page 557, and we'll talk about this tomorrow night, about the difference between a union and a join, okay? And what that really means when we do a join, say, versus a union, and the different geometry of it, and they talk about that. Now, 15.1 over the Patrick text is a union, okay, and we'll copy that. And then I'm going to click create. Of course, it did the query design business. And then close this off and put this over in SQL. Okay? And now what we're going to do is we're working with a couple of tables. They're there over on page 558. The first table, section 1501, first table, section 1501, second table. And they have a number, a word, and a date. Number one, word one, date one. And then the other table have number two, word two, and date two. And we're going to add, we're going to run a union of these two tables. And a union is when we take both sets and put them together. Okay. And so we'll run that. All right. And you'll see the result set. This is the same result set you've got at the bottom there of page 558. Now, when we do a union, we take two sets, okay, and we put them all together. A good practical example would be one set would be the email addresses of all of the people who've expressed interest in my product over during the period of 2015, okay, during that calendar year. Set B would be everyone who's expressed an interest in my product during a calendar year 2016. And if I do a union of the two of them, then I'm going to get everybody in 2015 and 16 who was interested in my product, okay? And that's when we get a union, is when we combine the two of them. Now, in the union function, when we do the union in SQL, it eliminates duplicates. And we're going to see a different type of union here a little bit later, the union all, where we save everything. So if we do a union, it gets rid of any duplicates. And you can see that, and you can take a look at the bottom page 558 and see that. So this is, I'm going to call this, and they don't tell us to save this, they don't give us anything to save it. So I'm going to save this as 15-1, okay? And like I said before, this is just, I'm going to do a little bit of skipping around here. Now, over on page 559, again, we'll talk about that. They give you, the authors cover the difference of a union and a union all, and they show you a query that does a union all, and we'll probably work through that tomorrow night. So I'll make a note of that as I go through that, and I star that. That's one that we will want to cover. And now I'm going to pop over to page in the text. I'm just going through the Patrick text. I'm looking at these different queries that can have us run. And I'm going to look here again at the query over on page 562, which would be 15.3. Okay, and by the way, I'm doing this as a backup, so I'll save this, okay, and then have it there for you as a backup in the event something happens. I have some other chapter 15s and 16s where we've finished them, so don't get all hung up about that in the event we have a problem or disaster with the meeting. Again, we're experimenting, and I'm not going to penalize you for that. We're just going to see how this works, okay? Now, and I appreciate your forbearance. So let's go back into the text file, and we'll go back into 15.3. All right. Now, I've got it highlighted for you. Let's talk about what we're looking at here. This is just about everything we've been doing up to this point. Okay. We're going to select a dot last name. Of course, so what that means is we're assigning some pseudonyms to a table, just like, you know, we're having a table alias. Just like we have column aliases, we can, as we've talked about before, we can create a table alias, and we have a table alias A, and then you'll see a table alias B mentioned in that count, where we use the count function in that third line of the code. And then we got lunches employees A, so we declare A is the employees table, and the lunches table is B. And then we have the where that joins them, where the employee ID matches up. And then we're going to group them by the first name and the last name. And then we have a having statement, okay, where we're having a count of the lunches ID is a lunch ID is less than 5. Then we do union all. And in the union all, what we're going to do here is we're going to get everything. We're going to include any duplicates, okay? And that's the difference between the two. And then we're going to select Patrick, and we've got that hard-coded in, John, hard-coded in the 0, and that's from the dual, which is a table of constants, and we're going to order it by last name. So we copy that. So we've done a whole lot here. This is just almost everything we've done at this point. Now again, I'm using the union all so I can get all of the records, okay, including duplicates. So I'll run that, and there it is. Now we've got the count for the number of lunches. We've got their first name, their last name. And here you'll see where we included John Patrick, who had 0 lunches. That we hard-coded in. That was why you saw those parentheses there. And we saw that select statement that ended up. So we have a select statement. And we have a select statement, then we use the where clause, then the having, then we did a union all, then we did another select statement, and we put all those records together. So if we had duplicate records, okay, that would show up. So that's 15.3. Okay. Now, like I said before, I'm going to save this and have it over there for people, for people to upload. Or if not, I have some others where we've worked through chapter 15 and 16 before in prior classes, and I've got those worked. And you could see them. You've got enough experience at this point that you enough repetition with this code, you'll see it, you understand what's going on. And as you follow along in the text, you can do it. So, over on page 564, there's another query over there, 15.4. And I'll make sure I put a star on those that I've done. I'm not going to do that one. It's on page 564, but it's just you're going to do a union, and you're going to order by a call. So you're going to have it sorted. And we're going to use the select asterisk, which of course means get everything from that table. And we'll look at that tomorrow night again when we do the session. Then I have 15.4, which is another example. This is over on page 565, and that one is where they create a column alias, okay, in the order by clause. And you'll see that. In that first top of that query, before the first half of the union statement, the one above, in that select statement, we use the column alias, and then in the bottom part of that union, the second select statement, we utilize it. Then I have another example there using table references, what I call, column table aliases. That's like that A dot, B dot, etc. Okay. Now, I want to show you something over on page 568. We're not going to run that, but that's some Oracle SQL, okay? And this doesn't work with Access, okay? So it's just Oracle, but again, as we go through it, I want you to see what Oracle looks like, because the Oracle SQL or SQL is not that different from Access SQL. But this is one of those situations where in Oracle it says create or replace a view, okay? And then you select, and then you do the order. Then at the bottom of page 568, they show you Oracle SQL creating a table using a union with an order by clause. Now, on page 569, you're going to see that they ask you to run a query using Access SQL with a union and order by clause. And we'll talk about that some tomorrow night. And basically, you're going to use a union and an order by clause. Now, there in page 569, they show you a technique where you select everything into SEC 1504B table from SEC 1505A view. And that 1505A, the underscore view, is one that you create up above there in 569. And we'll mess around with it tomorrow night. Then there's quite a bit of narrative here in the text about automatic data type conversion and union. Okay. Date columns, text columns, making sure that columns are compatible. And you'll want to take a look at that material. And this is how we're able to make things mesh up and get unions handled. They'll talk about net date columns, comparability of columns and numeric columns. And we'll talk about that some tomorrow night when we do the session. Over on page 572, they give us a query that we run, and basically we're going to select, this is from 1506, that table with long columns. I don't know if we'll create that first or not. We'll take a look. Let me go here and see. Let's see if we can see this section 1506 with long columns table. Probably is over there. Okay. And we'll talk about this. Here it is. Here's section 1506 underscore with long columns. Let's open that up for just a minute, and you'll see we've got the number column and the text column. And they show you that there on page 572. And these are two columns within this table. The string, that is a collection of characters, numbers, whatever, is a length of 7. Okay? And that's called the long columns. The short column has a length of 2. Okay? And then they have us do a union of the two of them. So I'm going to pop over here into the text file, and we'll run this for a minute. And this is going to be 15.6. Okay, we're going to select number column with length 7. That's the column as number column, so we're using a column alias. Text column with length 7 as text, so we're using another column alias. This is the second line of that code that got highlighted. And then the third, of course, is the table we're getting it from. Then we have the union. Okay. Then, okay, says, all right, well, what are you going to join it? What are you going to unite it with? What's the union? Well, we've got one part of the union already. What's the second part? And this is going to select the number column with the length 2, okay, and the text column with length 2 from that section 1506 underscore with short columns, and we'll order it by 1, okay. And so we'll copy that, create, and we'll do the query wizard. And we're going to run it. And there's our result set. And we'll save this as SEC 1506 underscore width underscore long underscore columns. And it makes me crazy why they just don't cram the word together, but we have to underscore it so we have a nice workable name. It says, again, this query the same name as the existing table in your database. Oh, I'm sorry. Earth to me. It should be SEC 1506. That was the name of the table. Underscore union underscore view. My apologies. Okay. And you'll be able to see the beginning tables and the result table, i.e. the view, over on page 573. And again, to remind you, the powerful thing about this is I can not only collect and retrieve data, but when I run a query, okay, it saves the view, it saves the code, okay, doesn't save the data. The data in the table are there unless I do an operation, as we've seen, where I alter the table. I append something to it, I delete records from it, whatever. Otherwise, the table's there, it stays the same, but I save the code to create the view. That's why people will call a data, like myself, I'll call a data set, a data view, the result set, I'll call it a view, because that's what we're doing, is we're getting a peek at what's in there based on what we ask it to see. But the underlying stuff's still there. And the authors gave us some of the verbiage there in 573 about the difference between SQL, Oracle, and SQL or SQL and Access. Page 574. Let's take a look at 15.7. That's over on page. Now, you're going to notice at the bottom of page 15.7, they show you the Oracle SQL. Now, the SQL for Access is not in there, okay? And it's not going to work anyway because it's got that format function in there which messes everything up. And I've talked about that before. So that's 15.7 is basically a union of tables with different data types, and they show you the Oracle SQL and basically select character, and then number column length 7 is first column, and so you can read the Oracle SQL right there. enter in 15.7. And then they ask you in another 15.7 to see the view. And that's it, 15.7 union view. But the code that's in the textbook there, 574, it's got that format function in front of it. It's no good. And we've gone through this before. Okay? Now, in the middle of page 578, okay, which is this 15.8, we're going to need to do a little bit of work here. And I'm going to start with this first line of code. It says select a dot number underscore column. I'll call it as number underscore call. And then with the a text column, and that's the underscored, and then the date call as you see, I'm using a couple of column aliases, underscore call, and this is then from section 1508, more columns, a union, and then selection 15.4. And this is from the 15.8, more columns, A, then the union. We'll select B dot number call. And you see there's, in the textbook, there's a period in front of that B. It should be there. This is in the B text, so it should just be column and then B text call. Then the null. And this is where we add an extra column. We're just going to add a column null, and this is from the SEC 1508 less columns B. So we've got these two. We've got some column aliases we added. We've got two table aliases that we've done. So I'm going to copy this, and I want to do this because it's a little more complex. I'm going to record it so you could come back and look. So we're going to click create. Redesign, and then we'll run it. And there we are. You can see the null columns. If we want it to look exactly like it is in the book for those columns, like the text call, we'll go back in and make it a column alias as text all caps underscore call. Well, we've got basically all those text columns, date columns, and number columns, and then the null. So we want that text call there to be all caps. So go back down to the SQL view. And I call that as. And then add a column, comma, excuse me. And so I did here, just the date. Go back up, and there it is. And the text column and the date column, those two column names are now, everything is. Now when you get that number column also. I want to go ahead and let's go to the SQL view on that. Let's see, we're doing the AOs. Number, all caps here, underscore call. A column, a comma, excuse me. And then we did a little bit of work with it. And there it is. So the number call should be, let's go back down and look at that. SQL view. Oh, okay. It's come back up to the very top of this query and select all, select a dot number underscore call as number call. I've got that. Both should be. We should get the number call for both. Huh. Well, let's save that as 15.8. That's a mystery. And they don't tell us to save it as anything. So we'll just say this is 15.8. We did the column aliases. And we'll go back down to the SQL view for a minute. And we'll look at that as a minute. And what I'm doing is I'm taking a look at this here just to see. Actually, on that very first one, we don't need the column alias because it's already in that 1508 more columns. That is already, but we're using the, so let's try this. It's a dot, and then make that. And what we did there is, we didn't do the column alias, we that's a dot number. Oh, we need a comma after that. Undo it. And there we go. Now we're good. Now I'll show you something real quickly here on 15.8. If you look in the text, okay, we'll go to the SQL. If you look in the textbook, the beginning column, that first, that number column in section 1508, more columns, that table. The number column has all caps, okay? And so we had to put in a dot and then that name and then a comma. The problem is the comma, and then we went ahead and made text column. We used a column alias for text column. So we could, and we really didn't need that, but we went ahead and put those in, so we made sure that we had them all capitalized. So back here, and we have our data column text column, number column, as we should. All right, so that's 1508, and we've done that one. Now, there's a couple of other things that they ask us to do over there, and there are two steps there. This is over on page 78 to determine if two tables are identical, okay? And we've got two steps we have to follow. And we'll whip through this tomorrow night. Now, they talk about using literals in Union to identify the source of the data. We'll talk about that some tomorrow night also. That's over on page 581, that's 1510. 1511, they talk about attaching warnings, flags, etc. And that's going to be 1511. And so we'll do it. So let's pop down here and look for 1511. So what are you talking about? Well, let me highlight this for you. You can see. We're going to select description, price, and then we're going to put expensive item. That's a warning flag or a message as message. So we're going to have a column called message, and inside that we have hard-coded the word expensive item from the foods table. And the condition we call it, and what invokes that expensive item is when the price is greater than $2. Then we're going to union all, which means we're going to get everything, all duplicates. Duplicates will be included, and we're going to select description, comma, price, from foods, okay? And this is where not the price is greater than $2. So if it's less than $2 or the price is null, we won't have that word expensive item in there, okay? And so if you want to see the beginning table, it's over there on page 584. So I'm going to copy this. This is, again, we could just do some, a little bit of work here to add in a warning or whatever we want to. Now, one of the assignments we're doing this week is a Teradata University, where I have you go over and register there if you haven't registered there already. And this is on the business intelligence text, and that assignment on that number one. And the whole idea is for you just go over there and find 20 items, go over there and explore a little bit, because I want you to know about Teradata University for a very practical reason. First of all, it has enormous amounts of material over there. In fact, you can go through a certification program that they have, which is excellent. Number two, it's to get you familiar with Teradata so that when you do your SAS visual your SAS analytics case study or project, then visual analytics project, you'll be able to do so. Okay? So we'll run this query. And here it is, a note. Here it is, the description, the price, and the message. And anytime it's more than $2, we get this message, expensive item. Okay? And we'll save that, and that's 1511. So we've done that one. Tomorrow night we'll talk about 1512, dividing a data from one column into two different columns so we can split them apart. We can use the union all to do that, to split a table apart, because remember with union all, I save all the duplicates. So I can use clauses to split the table apart. Not that big of a deal. You'll see it when we do it tomorrow night. Let's just see a result table with some debits and credits. 1513 is something we'll do again tomorrow night. We'll look at applying two functions in different parts of the data. So we could do a couple of functions. And one of them is in the top part of that union all. Okay, again, we're going to include everything in a union all. The top part of that union all is we're gonna do create a price function. We're going to increase the price times 5%. Okay, then in the bottom, and that's where the price for every item is greater than $2. When it's less than or equal to $2, the bottom part of that union all, we're going to generate a result set that shows we're going to have a result set where the price is increased by 10%. So if it's $2, it only increases by 5%. If it's less than or equal to $2, it goes up 10%. We'll see that. So we'll run that tomorrow, and we'll see the increment there. Now, over in 1514, they begin to walk us into some other stuff like running a union of 3 or more tables. As I've talked about before, and this goes back to this whole thing we started the class, we talked about the analytical cube. My ability to take several dimensions, say of a transaction, when it occurred, where it occurred, how much was involved, how the transaction was handled, i.e. how did they pay for it, who paid for it. I could also involve, what data do I have about this person, what credit card do they use, do we know their age, demographics. The power of this is I can tie these tables together, okay, and I can get that really rich picture of a transaction or a picture of my customers, okay. That's why relational databases are such powerful tools for us as business people, okay. And as you see it and you understand it, then when you interact with the people in IT who work at the company there, then you're able to understand what they can do for you and why they're so very important to you, and why, but depending upon your level of security or your management level, you'll want to talk about not only just those regular queries that you'll run just for reports, but maybe some serendipitous queries that can generate some what-if kinds of questions or answer some what-if kinds of questions. And so we'll see that over there on page 589. Now, we've talked about this before, and we're going to see this as we start to string together 3 or more tables, okay? That's why we call it, again, a relational database. And remember, when we started the course, we looked at that data warehouse, okay, which had a fact table, which was a list of all the transactions, sales transactions. Then we had those dimension tables, customers, the type of customer, their zip code, the marketing channel where the transaction occurred, and then we had some tables of constants, okay, like prices, or a table of constants we would have like what we call a slowly changing dimension, like we have a table of states with their 2 abbreviations, etc. And we talked about that star schema, how they all feed into that fact table. Okay? So we're going to start to see that emerge a little bit more clearly as we do some work here with these multiple tables, set intersections, set differences, and that'll pretty much blow us through chapter 15. Now I'm going to do another about 16, so you'll have something. But then again, remember, I'm not talking about everything because we'll have our meeting tomorrow night, and we'll hit some of the highlights, and then again I'll have this. So you're going to have our meeting tomorrow night, and that'll be recorded, and hopefully everything will be okay. We'll see. It's an experiment. We'll have what I've done here today with chapter 15, then chapter 16, which we've looked at. Okay, you'll have that one. And then I also have some finished, some other where I've done all the queries. So you'll have plenty to see. And I think you've done this enough times and with enough replication that you understand. The other thing is, again, I want to emphasize to you how important it is, that exercise in the business intelligence, a business intelligence text, that you do that exercise where you go to Teradata University, and I want you to explore, find those 20 different items, features, things that they provide for you. It's there for you for free as a student. The fact that you'll get to utilize SAS, visual analytics, for example, is a fantastic opportunity, because then when you go out to work, you can talk to employers and say, yeah, I've had some experience with SAP, with SAS. The other thing, of course, is at the end of the textbook, you can download Oracle, so you can do an Oracle project. So there's a lot there for you to get. And again, understanding this whole idea of the analytical cube as a way to gather as rich a set of data possible about my customers, about my vendors, about transactions, helps me see my business in a deeper light, and with the ability to do queries and to do what I call serendipitous queries. Well, what about this, and what about that? Often what will happen is we'll emerge an insight that we didn't have before, plus just the regular business intelligence activities where we're just scanning outside the company to find out what's going on and collecting that data. And at the same time, we're looking at what's going on internally. And all of this obviously is not to make us programmers or computer geeks, but ultimately to use these tools in a decision-centric fashion. So we use them to create information that we can use to make decisions that supports company mission and company strategy, that in turn supports the company mission. Okay? Well, I've gone for quite a while, folks, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, and we'll see how this Zoom meeting works tomorrow night. I'll send you an invitation or a link to join me for the meeting. So be ready for that, and it will be just a link, and you'll be able to come in and join, and we'll be in the meeting. Okay? And again, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you kind of letting me use you as guinea pigs. It's awfully nice of you to do. So at this point, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to back to the meeting. Okay. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Okay. And then I will stop the recording. I will see all of you tomorrow night.